You're a startup founder. Finding product market fit is probably your number one priority. But to land bigger customers, you also need security compliance. Obtaining your SOC 2 or ISO 27001 certification can open those big doors, but they take time and energy, pulling you away from building and shipping. That's where Vanta comes in. Vanta is the all-in-one compliance solution helping startups get audit ready and build a strong security foundation quickly and painlessly. Vanta automates the manual security tasks that slow you down, helping you streamline your audit. The platform connects you with trusted experts to build your program, auditors to get you through audits quickly, and a marketplace for essentials like pen testing. So whether you're closing your first deal or gearing up for growth, Vanta makes compliance easy. Join over 8,000 companies, including Y Combinator and Techstar startups who trust Vanta. For a limited time, get $1,000 off Vanta at vanta.com/simplify. That's VANTA.com/simplify for $1,000 off.
Sports Card Nation, the hobby is the people. Weekly news and interviews, it's your number one source. Sports Card Nation, the hobby is the people. Sports Card Nation.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to episode 322, Sports Card Nation. Bart, Bartholomew, Ray Fonio, and Scott Nathan are back this week to cover the Football Card Hall of Fame. Last week, we tackled the 45 candidates up for induction. I wanted to dedicate that whole episode and do all the candidates on one. It made for a longer episode. I hope you still enjoyed it. We're back to our normal length with the three fellas today. And today we're talking about the entity that is the Football Card Hall of Fame. How it started, what it entails, the process, some of the new rules this year with induction, and going to ask those guys some questions as well. So today we're back to our normal shorter length. So those who like that normal shorter length will, again, we're back on track there. Speaking of back on track, Magic Mind, it's a nootropic shot, little shot type drink I take every morning along with my coffee. Gets me kind of focused, locked in, some mental clarity. Been battling sinus infections and colds off and on. It seems like the last 6 weeks, and this really kind of eliminates that brain fog, gets me kind of focused and that mental clarity I need to kind of work with the kids at school, which is what I do during the day, and even on weekends when I take it. Just some of the work around here at the office and in the studio, it just gets me focused and locked in. And I'm not normally, I don't, not my thing, but this, I tried it out. My buddy at work was using it, and I like it. So contacted the company. They're a pseudo sponsor. They just say, hey, we'll give you a link where your listeners, if they want to try, can get 45% off. That link is in the episode notes. So if you're interested in Magic Mind and looking to save some money, give it a shot in the episode notes there. So, all right, with that being said, we're going to hear from a couple of our great sponsors, and then we're going to be back with Bart, Ray, and Scott.
For nearly 50 years, Sports Collectors Digest has been the voice of the hobby, bringing you comprehensive coverage of the sports collectible industry. From industry news, auction results, market analysis, and in-depth stories about collectors and their collections, Sports Collectors Digest has everything you need to know about the hobby. SCD is also your leading source for listings of sports collectible dealers, card shops, card shows, and the latest from the industry's top companies. To check out all the latest news or to subscribe to the hobby's oldest magazine, visit sportscollectorsdigest.com or call 1-800-829-5561.
Hobby Hotline is the hobby's only live interactive call-in show. Join some of your favorite hobby personalities every Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, to discuss the hottest hobby topics. If you miss us live, catch us after the fact on all major podcast platforms. Follow us on socials at Hobby Hotline.
And now the conclusion of our interview with Scott, Bart, and Ray from the Football Card Hall of Fame. All right, so some questions, guys. I wanted to go through the list first. This is the third year. I guess my first question: you guys are now 3 years in. Has the process gotten easier or actually more difficult? How would you answer?
I would say the final couple get a little bit more difficult, because to the 45 foundational cards that we picked on the first ballot wasn't too difficult. We stopped at 45 because it was, there was when he hit 46, 47, it was like, they don't need to be on the original ballot. They're just not competitors with some of these others. And so it was kind of easier to draw that line. But now, kind of mentioned before, well, we're collectors too. So we have our biases of positive or negative variety, and so we have to challenge those pretty significantly as we get towards the end of reintroducing cards and we had to introduce 16 new cards this year, so that's why it was a little bit more back and forth. And so there was just some bartering that went on, like, all right, I'll sponsor your one because I'm not against it too strongly, and Scott will sponsor one of mine along the way or whatever, as long as they were deserving. But of course, some of them that we came up and before we talked to each other, matched up straight up, and it was like, all right, that's an easy ad. That's in the next echelon of cards that needs to come into the ballot. So a little bit more on the haggling at the end there, but not too crazy.
Yeah, I had to let Bart put in Ronnie Lott and Santa Claus, and in exchange he let me put a couple packets back on the ballot. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, that I totally agree. It does get more of a challenge when you're kind of getting through the weeds on some of these cards to fill out the ballot. But I think the process of voting and getting this out there has gotten a little easier. I think we had a pretty darn good year last year for voting in general. So that process has gotten easier, and we hope to, get that this year and hopefully even eclipse that as we go forward.
Thanks to support from you, John, and others, it's been pretty good with that.
Well, this is a great thing. I said it, I'm surprised it took so long to happen, but glad you guys are doing it. You guys, and doing this for the third year, right? I can tell you guys, anyone can try whatever and say they're going to do something, right? And then caring and being passionate about it and having integrity in the process of it. That's a whole nother show. And you guys check all those boxes, right? And then I think that's a big difference maker. It's easy, I get the fun part, right? I just go to the ballot and vote for the 10 cards I'd like to see get in, and you guys do the legwork and the process, which I'm sure is fun as well. But it is work just to say. Hearing you guys talk about, like, hey, I'll give you your two, you give me this one. If we didn't know anybody, I thought we were talking about like some Washington deals going on, like on some bills to be passed. But no, all joking aside, like you guys care. You guys are in the trenches as collectors, right? Sometimes people, you hear endeavors where someone who's not really involved in it is involved in it, right? And that usually doesn't work out too. So I think, and like you said, you don't vote, right? You keep it really, really into. I wouldn't have a problem if you voted personally, because I think you vote with your heart, probably more so than me, where I'm just, I'm voting for Ernie Davis and Mean Joe no matter what. But you know what I mean? So I think that says a lot too, that you think about the perception or what are the optics of this, and how do we do this so the optics are right and it's pure, and how much, now going into your third year here, just about to complete your third year, how much do you get people, like, whether it's an email or DM, and you're like, hey, you got to get my card on your list? How much lobbying? Are you getting more of that now as this grows?
It's a good thing that you said that, because, as you know, I do the Baseball Card Hall of Fame, and a couple months ago I launched the website. There's going to be a website for the Football Card Hall of Fame that's going to show the whole history of what cards have gotten in, and then these guys are going to get bombarded with messages through the website believe me, I'm already getting bombarded with baseball cards. So they're going to get hit with people, hey, how about this? Giving suggestions. So the website's going to have like a suggestion button that the people can go in and, make a suggestion of what they think or feel should be on the ballot. It's something that I think it just gives the community more involved as well. But and it's going to be easier to see what cards have already been in rather than just clicking a link of a spreadsheet. There's going to be a website probably very soon, not before the voting ends, but it is going to be done really like within a month or so.
Has this process, you guys are collectors, has this process changed maybe some of your buying habits or how you viewed certain cards prior? And in other words, maybe you say like, I gotta pick this card up. It really wasn't on my want list, but now it's on there. Has it changed how you collect? I guess is maybe the short way to ask the question.
I'd say put some vigor in what was potentially already on the list, right? Like, oh yeah, I it's on my list, but I haven't put enough effort into it, but it's on the ballot and everybody's voting for it. I was just kind of not giving it its credence, but it was already on the list, so I bumped that up. I did, kind of a little bit more out of the blue, I would say, when Scotty introduced the 90 Vince Lombardi Pro Set hologram last year. I was like, yeah, I kind of had a blind eye to that one, but I need that one in the PC. I'm a big Pro Set guy, so I did go out and get it specifically for that reason. And all of this talk, drives what's already a ridiculous amount of eBay activity with me. So yeah, it does. It at least churns the juices. But I think I've been doing the football long enough where I don't get something completely new in there, but it does get me amped up for sure.
Yeah, and the first episode is going to be going over the candidates. This is kind of the post candidate episode. Whoever wants to do it, kind of talk about the process. So, how does a card stay on the list if it doesn't get in? How does a card, unfortunately, get dropped from the candidate list? Some of the rules and parameters, to what people get to vote for, and maybe eventually, unfortunately, you may vote for it this year, and then next year you don't get to vote for because of that rule. Kind of go over the percentages and how that process works.
Yeah, well, I think the first 2 years we took 10 cards in, and basically we knocked off the bottom 5 off of those lists the first 2 years. And of course, last year we knocked off 6. I think there was a tie for the bottom 6. Mm-hmm. That's why we had to pick 16 new cards this time around. And what we kind of did this year coming in is we did allow we think we took 4 of the 5 cards that got knocked off the first time around and put them back on the list, just because it was such a strong first ballot. We felt like it was okay to sit out a year and then come back. And I think we'll do that with the second ballot that we did too. But basically, if you finish in the bottom 5, you're going to get knocked off for at least kind of where we're at with it.
Yeah, and that opens the door for some other cards to enter the fray and see where they fare. You've had 2 votes, 2 completed votes and 2 inductions, if you will. Has it surprised you, or has it been kind of chalk to what you would have guessed, how it would have went? What would you say?
I would say who got in was not a surprise in large part. There's a couple. For us, it's just where is the disparity that of cards that we thought maybe would be a little bit closer, right? Because, those 2 foundational classes, nobody's coming out of left field per se on those, but kind of how we talked about between the Elway and Marino. But we knew they were, if they weren't both getting in, it was going to be close. Which one would it be? Kind of there's some little competitions in there where you're like, all right, who's getting the nod? This one got 3 extra, percentage points than another. That's what surprises us, or what we're looking forward to kind of seeing the statistics on. But not too many cards, just, trudge up a lot of popularity outside of what we were already tracking.
Yeah, looking at the first 2 top 10 lists, I don't think either of us had a problem with who was in there necessarily, but it is kind of fun to look at, well, this card finished above this card or a couple spots above this card within the top 10, and we find that.
Yeah. No doubt, no doubt. So the top five vote getters will get in this year. Again, I'm gonna put you on the spot, and you can things can change. Do you think you'll keep it at five, or do you see a scenario where you go back to 10 getting in again?
I don't think we have a scenario where 10 get in again. I think 5 is the right number. The only thing I'm open to, and we haven't really talked about it amongst us, is if it stays 5 getting booted. And I think some of the math will tell us that, right? Like if there's a significant drop off prior to that, and it makes more sense to, kick 7, 8, 10 off of a list to re-energize. If there's just a couple, more bottom feeders that aren't getting the love, okay, to do a little bit more than just a new 5. I'm open to that. We'll see where the math takes us on that. We're going to stick with the 5 until the data tells us we need to think otherwise.
So if a card comes off the list because it's on that bottom half, can it come back the year after it's not on the list, or is there a sitting out period, or is it just
we've
at least a year?
That's between me and Scott. Kind of try to hash it out for the ballot. That first year, we took off the bottom 5. This year, we reintroduced 4 of those 5 that had to sit out a year, just because their strength. You're going to run out of that strength in coming years of those that did get kicked out. And so they probably will be sidelined potentially a little bit longer, just based on popularity and what they represent in the hobby. But, we definitely, are putting integrity to the process. And all right, if you didn't vote for it and it did that poorly, then, it needs to sit aside, and we'll reconsider it. And then, after a year of waiting.
Again, another kind of put you on the spot. You've really, except for a couple minor tweaks, you've sort of got this thing, I guess I'll say it like this, down to a science. Any kind of future tweaks you could talk about, or are you kind of comfortable at really where you're at with it?
I think that allowing only the 5 getting in this time is kind of maybe the biggest tweak I could see us doing. I'm not sure if we'll ever change like the amount of cards you could vote for. Right now we're still doing voting for 10, but I think that I'm good currently with the system that we have with the 5 getting in now. I think that's going to be a good move overall.
Yeah, we'll, if we think it's prudent, we'll make some fine tuning, but I think we're pretty close to our comfort zone with how it should go. That doesn't mean we're going to be closed-minded to other opportunities, but we'd like to get into a smooth spot where we get to execute, and it's nice and clean for a couple years on the established rules.
Yeah, well, guys, listen, you guys are doing a tremendous job. You really, you do it like you're getting paid for it, right? And there's something to be said about that. You care, your collectors, yourself, and you're doing the whole process justice, and that's why we do this every year, and I'm glad you come on and we can go through this list. And even I think it's hard when I'm voting, when we're talking about all these cards as a group. I'm like, holy smokes, I don't know which 5 are going to I'm thinking this one's a shoe in, and then when we really start talking about it, like, it's not looking as much of a shoe in.
Yeah.
So kudos. Yeah,
one last
Rick.
thing, John. To reverse back a couple questions ago. You guys were talking about, does it influence you, or do you think it influences you on wanting to go out and buy, certain cards? When I first started, doing the baseball card Hall of Fame, and then these guys started with the football, I didn't know. Someone would ask me that, and I didn't know. But have learned in the past several months, maybe a year, where I kind of think it has, because I'll go on YouTube and I'll see collab videos on. I'm not in the collab, but I'm just watching, and I'll see people just talking about certain cards, and the conversation will come up, well, is that card in the baseball card Hall of Fame? Or is that card in the football card Hall of Fame? And I'm like, what did he say? And I'm like, why? And they're like, yes, well, see, then that's a good card. And no joke, I've seen that several times already. And I'll be on Sunday nights, and I'll see like 4 guys on or something, and there's 30, 40 people in the chat, and they'll talk about a certain particular card, and comes up as like, well, I think this is a good card because it's in the Hall of Fame, and they're being dead serious. So I don't know. I'm not saying that it has an influence, but I definitely think it's doing something, like it is doing, it is like,
Well,
I'll look at cards and I'm like, you know what? I like this card. I don't have it. I'm going to get this card.
Well, like full transparency, even, this is my third year voting, and I'm familiar with probably 90% of these cards. I don't own 90% of the cards, but in the process of voting, guys, like, I'll say, hey, man, what's that going for? I'd like to add that to
Right.
my PC. Like, it really wasn't on my radar prior, to be honest, but now, like, seeing it, I'm like, I like to own that card and just have it,
And some of them are
on
affordable.
display. Yeah.
And some,
And
like
then you
Bart
say
said,
that's the thing you do. You're like,
it'd
hey, what
make you
did these
go and
go
look, right?
for?
Like Bart was talking
Yeah.
about the
And
Earl Campbell rookie, like, oh, if it's in the Hall of Fame, this has got to be expensive. Not really. I mean,
no,
it's a great
no,
legendary Hall of Fame running back that you can get in an 8 for not, a pretty reasonable price.
yeah,
So,
40, $50, maybe even less, depending
yeah.
on timing. So it's changed. I asked you the question, but to answer my own question, it has changed. Like things I've bought or went out and search for, and I'm sure a lot of other people who are voting probably could say the same thing. And so that's something to be said about that as well,
Yeah.
guys. Is like, not that that's what you're doing it for necessarily, but you're like, Bart mentioned, education. You're educating people
Right.
about cards maybe they didn't know about,
Right.
and maybe I didn't realize I wanted to add this collection. Now I do, and now eBay should give you a cut,
Yeah.
amongst
Right.
other selling platforms.
Bring back eBay.
eBay bucks. Yeah. Oh God, I missed that.
Well, guys, listen, we'll end on kind of a fun note. When this airs, we'll be a couple days away from the Super Bowl. The matchup will obviously be set, but at the time we're recording this, we only know the 4 teams that are vying for those last 2 spots. We got the Bills versus the Chiefs in Kansas City, and we have Washington traveling to Ray's favorite team in town, the Eagles. I'll go last. I'll acquiesce to you being my guest. Whatever order you want to go in, kind of. Who do you think makes the Super Bowl, and then pick the winner. Again, this is for recreational purposes only.
I'll go first.
All right.
Shocker, the Eagles from the NFC. Really, right? Yeah, well, and the AFC, I'm going with the Bills over the refs.
Right.
Chiefs, Bills.
So you got Eagles, Bills. Who wins?
Oh, come on.
I got to give a final score. You got to give a final score, because one year I did this on another show, and I got the Super Bowl right and the final score right. Don't ask me how.
Well, I can't pick the Bills because I won't be able to leave my house. So
yeah, I'm
going to go with the Eagles. High scoring, definitely. I don't know, like 37-31, something like that for the Super Bowl.
Okay. I'm going to go Eagles from the NFC. Now, I'll tell you what I want. I would like to see Bills and Washington, just because I want to see new blood.
Yeah, a lot of people are wanting that.
Yep. So that'd be kind of cool, I think. But I actually think it's probably going to be Eagles and Chiefs, just because these are 2 teams that just find ways to win. They find a way to get it done, despite, Josh Allen having a fun season and doing good, and, Jaden Daniels as well. These 2 teams just find ways to win. You don't even know how they're winning these games. They just find ways to win. And so I think that'll continue. And exactly. And if I'm picking a winner, man.
The money's in the mail, Scott. The money's in the
mail. You know what? I'm gonna go. I'm gonna actually go Eagles, I think. And I hate to do it, right? I hate it. I think they're strong in some areas, like running back and in defense, the areas that you want to be strong in. So I'm going to go Eagles, and I'm going to go 27-24 over the Chiefs.
So you went with the Andy Reid ball, the Chiefs and Eagles, former team and current team.
Rematch of 2 years ago.
Yeah. All right, Bart.
All right, well, I'm anybody but Chiefs. I'm all for that. Whatever.
Yeah.
I don't want to even see them a chance for a 3-peat or anything like that. They shouldn't win this weekend, but you can't put it past them just because they keep finding ways to win. So, but I'm taking the Bills because I'm gonna root from my heart on that one a little bit. I think the Eagles pull it out this weekend as well. Pretty cool story with the Commanders and everything, but you probably outkicked your coverage at least a game or so already in the playoffs, and you should be happy with where you made it. And I think it'd be cool if the Bills won. Just it's been forever and all the things, right? But I think Philadelphia just has too many ways to win, and the Bills really just have Josh Allen to win for the most part. Philly has that star power, and they have enough hosses on defense to put a little bit of beating on Josh Allen as he's scrambling all around that much. So I got Philly in that one. I'm going to go 38-28. Real close one, and then a late touchdown spreads it out to 10 points.
All right. So here, again, don't take this to the bank. Much like Scott, I do kind of want to see Buffalo and Washington. That's my heart. My head tells me, the Jaden Daniels story is a great one. Rookie year in the NFC Championship game. I just think at some point the Magic's got to run out. You got a team that's sort of been there, done that, more familiar with that kind of pressure, right? You got a rookie starting in his first, obviously he's a rookie, it's his first year, and he's in the NFC Championship game. I just think there might be a couple mistakes in there. So I see the Eagles representing the NFC. Much like you guys said, it's hard to pick against the Chiefs. But this year, I know the record is 14-2, but man, they played almost every game was like a less than a touchdown victory, including against some weaker opponents. They were squeaking out. And Buffalo right now is just putting up, their offense is humming with Joe Brady.
Yeah.
I don't know if this Kansas City Chiefs team can match the scoreboard with the Bills. It's going to take, and it could happen. This is what very well may happen. It's going to take some turnovers from Josh Allen for the Chiefs to win. That's how Buffalo typically loses. But I think Buffalo's going to, erase the 4 years in a row of losing the Super Bowls. I think Buffalo gets by Kansas City. I just think they score too many points. And I think that's Buffalo, Philly. And, I'm going to be a little bit of homer being in New York. I'm a Steelers fan. I think this is the year Buffalo gets its first Super Bowl somehow, some way. And I'm going to go with the score 27-13, but the game is closer than that. I think it's a late, turnover type touchdown. It's like 20-13. And then in the last couple minutes, they get a turnover touchdown, and it's 27-13. We're probably all wrong somehow, but that's how I see it. It's gonna be fun, right? Only one of us teams are in it with Ray, and the other three have to say maybe next year. I'm not, as a Steeler fan, I've seen this movie enough to not say maybe next year yet, because I don't really feel that way. But it's fun, right? Regardless of whether a team's in it or not. The Super Bowl is one of the most watched sporting events. People who aren't even football fans, that's appointment TV, even if they're just watching the commercial. So
the holiday.
Yeah, it should be, and we shouldn't have to go to work on Monday.
The next day, right?
Yeah.
I agree with that.
So, well, guys, again, I appreciate all the work you put into this endeavor. It's very well done, and I think I speak for a lot of people when I say that we get the easy part. We get to go vote for the 10 cards that we want to see get in. Only 5 will be left standing when the dust settles and the smoke clears, and that'll be fun too to see what those 5 are. So if Santa Claus gets in, there's something smells funny. That's all I'm gonna say. All right, guys. For those who want to vote, again, it's in the episode notes. Click the link, take you right there, and there you go. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, John.
All right, great group of guys, great entity. Go vote. You got only a few days left if you're listening to this on show release day, and vote for your 10. 5 highest vote getters will get in, and they make it look easy, but it's not as easy as they make it look. So appreciate their efforts and work as they've completed now or just about to complete their third induction class. So, and look for many, many more years for that to continue. So with that being said, we're going to hear from our Hobby is the People announcer of the week, some closing thoughts, and wrap up this week's episode.
Time for our Hobby is the People announcer of the week.
Yo and hello everybody, Mike here, baseball collector, and remember that the hobby is the people.
If you'd like to be the Hobby is the People announcer of the week, do a WAV or MP3 file and send it to sportscardnationpc@gmail.com.
That's a wrap for this week. Huge thanks to you, the listeners out there, because without you, there is no us. If you like the show, we truly appreciate positive reviews. Big ups to our great guests who drive the show and our awesome sponsors who make it all possible. Sports Card Nation will be back next week, but don't forget to catch either Hobby Quick Hits or Card Mentions coming up on Monday. I'll leave you with this. How do we change the world? One random act of kindness at a time. Remember, the hobby is the people.
Hi, I'm Isaac Albert, a longtime card collector and the co-founder of the Penny Sleever. My wife and I started the Penny Sleever with a simple premise in mind: to offer collectors top quality supplies at fair prices. We offer a full range of hobby supplies and we'll get them to you fast. Whether you're looking for a 260-point magnetic for that oversized patch card or a slew of semi-rigids for your next PSA submission, the Penny Sleever has you covered. Shop now at thepennysleever.com and use the promo code SCNation to get 10% off your first order. That's SCNation for 10% off at thepennysleever.com. The Penny Sleever. Top quality supplies, fair prices.
Iron Sports Cards is your #1 source for all your PSA and other grading submissions. Their elite status improves turnaround times. Heck, they even provide the card savers. Their chat rooms provide updates on all your submissions. They also offer wax options and single cards to cover all the bases. Check them out on Facebook at Iron Sports Cards Group or on the web at ironsportscards.com, or even give them a call at 1-877-IRON-PSA. Rob's got you covered.